Hey, what's going on, everybody? Well met and everything. I'm Tech Maki, and this is going to be my first video on my Vision series. Essentially, the Vision series is a unit review guide. It also is it's used to help teach everyone about the character and also show some builds that you can use on the character. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get cracking into this. So first off, we have our pictures of Snow on here on the right side, where you have Snow in his 3 different looks from the different Final Fantasy 15 games. So you have, or 13 games. Wow, I got 15 on the brain. Anyway, so there's Snow over there in his first game, Final Fantasy 13, Snow in Final Fantasy 13-2, where he wasn't playable at all, and Lightning Returns Final Fantasy for 13, where again, he wasn't playable. But that's his closest form to L'Cie. So Snow comes in on FFBE as a 4-star base, works his way up to 6-star. Those little sprites looking different. And he is a L'Cie. Now, L'Cie calls back to his Final Fantasy 13 time when the fal'Cies in the game turned him and the rest of the crew into pretty much the minions of the gods. And they had to complete a focus, or they were going to turn into Seath, which I think were like L'Cie monsters or something. Anyway, his job class is Monk, and he fulfills the role of a tank. His primary stats are HP, attack, and defense. I think defense is his highest stat, and then we're going to move right in onto his abilities. Now, the abilities I chose to show you guys in the video, I think are the most prominent abilities he has. So we have Counter, which is a counter physical attack by 30%. Draw attacks, which increases the likeness of being targeted by 50%. It's kind of like a mini provoke. Fighting Spirit, which is the first one I think that has counter magic attacks by 30%. Pretty cool. Then you have Eye for an Eye, which is even cooler. Doubles both counter and Fighting Spirit. So that's pretty awesome. Then you have Battle Roar, which is level 100 ability. Attack up for all allies by 50%. Drawback is it costs 2000 HP and 8 MP. Most likely not going to be used all that much, mainly because we have Embolden, you have Cecil's Limit Break. This is kind of like a last-ditch effort if you just ran out of MP for the other ones. Then you have his main attack, which can be used to chain with other people or just do some crazy damage if he's built for attacking. That's Area Blast, which is another attack that Lightning has. AoE physical attack, all enemies. His TMR, Trust Mastery Reward, is the Champion's Belt, 4-star accessory. Has attack and defense plus 30%. The hidden effect on this accessory is attack and defense plus 20% when a fist weapon is equipped. Since he's a monk, this works out perfectly for him. Now, we have some exclusive material that's for him. We have 2 that are exclusive to just the Final Fantasy 13 characters and 1 that is exclusive to him as a unit, and they're all available right now during the Hanging Edge event, which everyone hates. Anyway, so moving in, we have Attacker, which is attack and magic plus 10%, Defender, which is defense and spirit plus 10%, and then Here We Go, which is defense and spirit up for the caster by 50% for 3 turns, cost 12 MP. This is another skill, sadly though, that we're probably not going to use all that often because, like I said earlier, we have Cecil's Limit Break, we have Embolden, we have and even Cheer, which is I think 5% or 4% less, or I'm sorry, 5 or 10% less than Here We Go. It just seems more likely that we'd use that instead of wasting his turn to buff himself when he could be using it for provoke or attacking or something. So yeah. Anyway, moving on in, we also have I picked the Espers that I think would be most prominent for the builds that I have assembled for him. And the first one is his damage dealer build, where I have it set as a Frit. The Frit should work out pretty good, has nice attack gains, has a decent HP gain. And then for tanking, we have Golem. Golem. Again, good HP gain, good defense gain, decent attack gain. So it's not that far behind Frit. Now, later on in the future, we should have Odin, Titan, and currently we have Diablos, which isn't mainly a DD or damage dealer, physical damage dealer Esper. It's more of a hybrid, but it has Maneater on it, so it could work out if there are a lot of humans and you don't have a stronger unit to put on Diablos. After that, we're going to move right into our builds. Now, I took a little time to make some free-to-play builds that have some unit or some materials from previous events, but you can also use different ones to compensate if you don't have the specific ones I mentioned. And I'll try to throw out which ones could be replaced by something else. So moving in, we have the free-to-play tank setup. Those are the total stats above my head. And the equipment that you'll be working towards is Winged Saint, which is a recipe from the event that's currently going on right now. Mithril Buckler, which you can earn on your own. Green Beret, that's craftable. Mirage Vest, you can also get that as a free-to-play player. 2 Muscle Belts, also craftable. Defender comes from the event that I've been speaking about. Guardian's Authority, 2 of those. That came from the Brave Frontier event. And it has, I think, it's HP plus 10% and 5% on both defense and spirit. Now, those can be dropped down to HP plus 10%, which come from Riser's TM, and it's essentially the same thing, except you're going to lose a little bit in defense and spirit from your total stats. And then HP plus 15%, which you can also slap in another HP plus 10% if you can't craft that or you didn't buy one from a previous event. It's just going to drop his HP down a little bit. Then we have the builds for our pay-to-play people. Now, this is a heavy defense build, and the total stats, as stated, are above my head. As you can see, it changes a little bit for the defense and the HP. Attack goes up by about 100, I think. And the gear is reasonable for a pay-to-play player, I think, if you had decent luck. So you have the Winged Saint, craftable from this event. Esuchion, which was from the Halloween event. Black Calour from Hayate's TM, Brave Suit from Ramza's TM, Bracer from Gafgarion's TM, Champion's Belt from Snow, HP plus 30%, which is from Amaranth, and then 3 Seals of Protection, which would require, I think, Saria. I could be mistaken, it could be Carl, but I'm pretty sure it's Saria. Either way, this is a pretty decent build for if you wanted to really stack that defense. 501 is the highest I've seen set up so far. That I've done myself. It's higher than my own Cecil's, and my Cecil has a bunch of defense pots placed into it. So he can survive pretty good with this setup. He has a decent amount of HP. He should be able to tank pretty well. Then we have an evasion tank build, which this is a callback to anybody who's played Final Fantasy XI. I was a big fan of counterstancing in that one, and Monk Ninja. Anyway, so this is a setup with either Mirage Vest or another one to increase his evasion to either 30% or 40%. On this setup, it's a 30% increase in evasion, plus with the Mirage Vest, he has access to the Mirage ability. For those who don't know what the Mirage ability is, it is a skill that you activate. I forget how much it costs, but it pretty much negates damage for 2 turns or two strikes, and it lasts for 3 turns. So with this setup, you could essentially continue to switch between Provoke and Mirage and that as necessary in order to prevent all damage from being taken. Minus Magic. Magic, you can't get away from right now. But with this setup, like I said, physical. If it's a physical attacker, you should, for the most part, be able to evade at least 30% of the attacks, and you should be able to stop 2 turns or 2 attacks without or before you have to refresh. And then, of course, with draw attacks, you're compensating for whenever Provoke goes down. Hopefully, within that 50% window, it will then draw any physical attacks to the tank instead of going to anybody else. The next build I have is the same thing except replacing it with Vampire Cloak. Now, Vampire Cloak's it's the TM from Dracu Lostwell, which came from the Halloween event. It is a piece of gear that is it's a little lower on the defense side than it is the Mirage Vest, or than the Mirage Vest has, but it has increased spirit, I think, of 10 the Mirage Vest has. So you can use this. It's a suitable replacement. It also comes with the evade skill attached to the Vampire Cloak, so you're raising your evasion up to 40% from 30% on the last build. Everything else is the same. This one is just more luck dependent. You have a bunch of HP, so you should be able to survive on both builds either way. The next build I have is like the pay-to-play bread and butter, I guess, if you want to make him into a straight up damage dealer. 2 Kaiser Knuckles from Xiao, and then Genji Glove from Gilgamesh, which has dual wield and attack and magic plus 10%. Pretty much everything else equipment wise is the same. And then we're moving down to the Materia, where you have lunge combos, 3 lunge combos and a power of creation. Lunge combos came from Spencer in the Brave, or I'm sorry, not Brave Frontier, the Crystal Defenders banner. If you didn't get her, it is what it is. This is these can also be switched out for units from the Brave Frontier banner. I think it's Carl, who has Seal of Destruction, and then Power Creation comes from Maxwell if you manage to get her 5-star unit during the event, during that trial that came up. And the next build I have is essentially it's the exact same thing, except this is a fully maxed out with pots. It raises the HP up into a semi-acceptable level, because the last build, if you looked at it again, we had 4,986, pretty close to 5,000, but it's pretty low. With this build, you have 5,649. It makes it so that you can survive a little longer as a damage dealer. You can even probably run this guy in the arena, and he's pretty close to 700 attack. So he's pretty strong, and his defense is actually pretty good if you ever need to use provoke. I think this is a pretty damn good build for a damage dealer. You guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Either way, that pretty much is everything I'm going to talk about when it comes to snow. If you have any other questions, go ahead and ask. But that ends my first episode of my Vision series. So if you like the video, please go ahead and give it that thumbs up. And if you want to see future content in the Vision series or any of my other guides, go ahead and subscribe. And as I said in my previous video, I am a Twitch streamer, and I play Final Fantasy Brave Exvius primarily. So if you want to, you can check the description below, and it has my Twitch link in there. But again, thanks for stopping by, and yeah, Maki out.